In the deep quiet of a world that should have been warm, the year 1816 unfolded not with sunlight and open skies, but with a strange and unsettling cold that crept softly into every corner of daily life. And as you listen now, imagine yourself drifting back through time, settling into a wooden chair beside a small window where the glass is cold too. The touch and the light outside feels weak, distant, almost apologetic, because this was the year when summer forgot how to arrive, when mornings came wrapped in mist and evenings carried the bite of early frost. And people across Europe and North America woke each day expecting the season to change only to find the same gray sky waiting for them unmoving and silent, and no one yet knew why the sun seemed so reluctant to shine. Only that the air felt heavier, the days shorter, and the nights longer than they should have been. And in villages where generations had trusted the rhythm of the seasons without question, a quiet unease began to spread, not loud or panicked, but slow and persistent, like a chill that seeps through thick clothing and settles into the bones. And farmers stepped into their fields in June to find ice clinging to the soil, their breath visible in the air, their hands stiff as they touched plants that should have been thriving, but instead hung limp and pale, as though confused by the world they had been born into, and children who had been promised summer games and warm rivers watched snowflakes fall from the sky, drifting lazily as if winter had lost its way, and mothers pulled shawls tight around small shoulders, whispering reassurances they were not entirely sure they believed themselves. And at night, candles burned longer than usual as families huddled together indoors, listening to the wind brush against wooden walls, wondering if the cold would pass tomorrow, or the next day, or the day after that. And somewhere far beyond their imagining, on the other side of the world, a massive mountain named Timber had exploded with a force so immense it tore itself apart, sending ash and dust high into the atmosphere, where it spread silently round the globe, veiling the sun in a thin, invisible shroud. But in 1816, no one knew this. No one could see the connection between a distant volcanic island and the frost on their window panes. And so the year earned its name not through explanation, but through experience, becoming known simply as the year without summer, a phrase that carried confusion, disappointment, and a quiet dread. And as weeks passed and crops continued to fail, worry deepened into fear, not sudden or dramatic, but steady and exhausting, the kind of fear that comes from watching the sky every morning and finding no answers there. And in towns and cities, bread grew scarce and prices rose. Lines formed outside bakeries, and conversations grew softer, more cautious, as if speaking too loudly might somehow make things worse. And in the countryside, fields that should have been green remained dull and lifeless, and the sound of scythes never came, replaced instead by the uneasy silence of land left unharvested, and letters were written between relatives separated by oceans, describing the same strange gold, the same dim light, the same sense that the world had tilted slightly off its proper course. And poets and thinkers tried to put words to the feeling, sensing that they were living through something extraordinary, something unsettling and profound. And in one such dim, rain-soaked summer, a group of riders gathered near Lake Geneva, confined indoors by relentless storms and cold nights. And in that quiet isolation, stories of darkness and creation began to form, including the earliest imaginings of Frankenstein, a tale born not only from imagination, but from the heavy skies and restless atmosphere of a world without warmth. And as the months dragged on, hope became a fragile thing, carefully guarded, spoken of in small doses, because each false spring, each brief moment of sunshine followed by frost made disappointment sharper, and yet life continued, quietly and stubbornly, as it always does. People adapted, planting what little they could, sharing food when possible, leaning on faith, routine, and one another to endure days that felt strangely unreal. And at night, when exhaustion finally overcame worry, they slept beneath thick blankets, dreaming perhaps of golden fields and warm breezes, memories of summers past that felt almost mythical now. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the world began to heal. Ash settled, skies cleared, and the sun found its strength again. But the memory of 1816 lingered, etched into journals, letters, and shared stories, a reminder that even the most reliable patterns of nature can falter, that the world can change without warning, and that humanity, small and fragile beneath vast skies, must sometimes endure in silence, waiting patiently for warmth to return. And as the year continued to unfold, the cold did not leave quickly or politely, but lingered like an uninvited guest who refused to understand the subtle hints that it was time to go. And so the people of 1816 learned to live inside uncertainty, waking each morning without expectation, moving through their days with a careful slowness that mirrored the dim light above them. And in mountain villages, snow returned again and again, blanketing paths that should have been dry, forcing travelers to turn back, while church bells rang not for celebration, but for prayers asking for warmth, mercy, and understanding. And in cities, coal fires burned late into the evenings, filling narrow streets with smoke that blended with the gray sky until the horizon seemed to dissolve entirely. And elders spoke softly of past winters, searching their memories for something similar, only to fall silent when they realized none existed, because this cold was different, heavier, quieter, and strangely persistent. And across the Atlantic, settlers in North America faced the same confusion, watching cornfields fail, rivers swell with icy runoff, and animals wander closer to homes in search of food, and journals. From the time described mornings so cold the ink froze in pens, hands numbed before words could be written, thoughts slowed by the simple effort of staying warm. And yet, even in this prolonged twilight of a year, small moments of humanity continued to glow softly. Neighbors shared what little they had. Stories were told by firelight. Songs were sung slowly and gently, as if louder sounds might disturb the fragile balance holding the world together. And children learned early that year how to be quiet, how to listen to the wind, how to wait. And as autumn arrived, without ever truly replacing summer, acceptance settled in, not as surrender, but as endurance. And people carried on through the long nights, trusting that somewhere beyond the clouds, the sun still existed, still remembered its rule, and eventually, almost shyly, it began to return. Thin at first, then stronger, warming roofs, fields, and faces that had nearly forgotten the feeling and the memory of that cold, sunless year never faded, becoming a quiet lesson passed down through generations, a reminder of how small and resilient humanity can be at the same time. And as you rest now, letting this long, gray year finally loosen its grip on your thoughts, imagine the calm relief of warmth returning slowly to the land, the gentle shift of seasons finding their rhythm again, and allow that deep, peaceful resolution to settle over you, and hurried and comforting. As the night deepens, the world grows still, and sleep comes easily, carrying you softly and safely away.